knows how to castrate a pig, ride a hog, and cut the pork from Washington, D.C. Now, wouldn't it be nice to give her an ally in the White House to help get the job done?
That was the man many are now calling the Republican frontrunner, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, talking about freshman Senator Joni Ernst. She's the Republican behind the roast and ride, who may be Iowa's new kingmaker. I was out there and had a chance to talk to Walker before he jumped on his Harley. He's not quite a declared presidential candidate yet, but as we saw here in Iowa this weekend, Scott Walker is already hitting high gear, racing towards the front of the pack on his Harley and in the polls. So Governor Walker, you're up in the polls nationally. You got a big lead here in Iowa. You're the front runner now?
I think Governor Bush is still probably up there up front just because he's going to have more money than just about all of us combined. But we're feeling good.
But you said not long ago that people don't want an anointed leader in America. They don't want someone who's part of a monarchy or of a legacy. You were talking about Hillary Clinton, but doesn't that apply to Jeb Bush too?
Well, I mean, I think it's really the contrary. I hope people, I hope Republicans, I hope independents, and even some discerning Democrats will see we're striking a stark contrast with Hillary Clinton. You know, we're new, fresh face, taking on someone from the past.
If you got to run this Republican primary first, Jeb Bush, this would be the third Bush. You're talking about a monarchy, a legacy. Doesn't that apply to Jeb?
Well, but again, I think it's one of those where in a Republican primary, if we were to get in, people want to see how you're going to step up and contrast yourself with Hillary Clinton. And the fact that she's not going through a primary, or at least a real primary, she's not going to be highly contested out there, I think is a disadvantage, not just for the Democrats, it's a disadvantage for the American people.
So you said that the nominee should be a governor or former governor, and the running mate should be a governor or former governor. You still believe that?
Well, I think overall, governors bring tremendous experience. You know, we have to surround ourselves with a cabinet of people who are smart or smarter than we are in any given issue. I think that's what makes for a successful governor in either party. It's precisely what makes for a successful president in terms of a cabinet and leadership.
So would you categorically rule out a senator like Marco Rubio?
No, I mean, I think my preference then, and it still is today, that I think governors are well-tested leaders because they don't just talk about it, they don't just give speech about it, they have to do it. But someone like Marco Rubio, I have real confidence in.
Walker is best known for his controversial stand against unions in Wisconsin. He fended off a recall challenge and won re-election in November. Okay, so one of your central promises was you were going to create 250,000 private sector jobs in Wisconsin. When I asked you about that 2 years ago, you said you would get it done.
We're still committed by 2015, which is our goal. It's a little bit less than 2 years away to get to 250,000.
You haven't done it. I mean, you didn't do it. You fell quite a bit short.
Yeah, we set a big, bold goal. We went from 8.1% unemployment December before I took office to last month. We nearly cut that in half at 4.4%, well below the national unemployment rate. We're going to continue to aim high, both in our state, and if I was a candidate for President of the United States, I'd aim high as well there.
But that was a central promise. You fell significantly short. So should we expect you to fall short on the promises you're making now?
No, you look at all the other promises we made. 4 years in a row, property taxes were lower than we started. The next 2 years will be out there. We froze tuition. We fixed the budget from $3.6 billion in the hole to surpluses. The rainy day fund's 165 times bigger than we took office. Schools are better. You look at one promise after another, we fulfilled it.
But Walker faces questions about his lack of foreign policy experience, including this jab from the president.
Perhaps Mr. Walker, after he's taken some time to bone up on foreign policy, will feel the same way.
President Obama said you needed to bone up on foreign policy, and I guess you've been doing it. I mean, you've been traveling, you've been talking to foreign policy experts.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting for the president to say that the guy who called ISIS the JV squad and Yemen a success story, somehow suggesting someone else should bone up in foreign policy. But we have, you know, we've been to Israel, I talked to David Cameron in the UK, we've been elsewhere. My belief is if I'm even thinking about running for president of the United States, it's not about preparing for debates. It's about being prepared to be the president of the United States.
Okay, you've been very critical of how the president's handled ISIS. Some are out there, like Lindsey Graham, saying we should send 10,000 U.S. ground troops right now to Iraq to help with this fight. Do you favor that?
No, I think we shouldn't rule anything out. I think that's a big mistake this president's made here and elsewhere about saying how long we would go or how much we would invest.
I'm not talking about ruling it out. I'm saying, would you do that?
No, I'm not arguing that's the first approach. I can tell you 3 specific things I think we should do in Iraq. First, we should re-engage the strength of the American forces that are there. Once you do that, you empower our the allied forces that are there on behalf of Iraq to reclaim the territory that ISIS has taken. And third, you just need to make sure you do it in a way that doesn't provide safe haven in the places like Syria as you push them out.
So you would not send combat troops now to Iraq?
No, I don't. I believe right now we have a capacity to reclaim Iraq with the Iraqi forces are there as long as we unleash the power that's already there of the American Armed Forces.
And you say you wouldn't rule out anything, though. Does that include, I mean, would you rule out a full-blown U.S. reinvasion of Iraq and Syria?
I don't think we should ever send a message to our foes as to how far we're willing to go.
So you wouldn't rule out a full-blown
I
reinvasion?
would not rule out boots on the ground. I think.
No, but I'm asking, would you rule out a full-blown reinvasion of Iraq?
If the national interests of this country are at stake, here at risk in this country or abroad, that's, to me, the standard of what we do for military engagement.
Meanwhile, Walker, the son of a preacher, has been courting social conservatives here in Iowa. Many of them concerned about that big decision expected from the Supreme Court this month. If the Supreme Court establishes that same-sex marriage is a constitutional right, does that effectively end this as a political issue in this campaign?
Well, I personally believe that marriage is between one man and one woman. If the court decides that, the only next approach is for those who are supporters of marriage being defined as between one man and one woman, is ultimately to consider pursuing a constitutional amendment.
So you would favor a constitutional amendment that would say that states are allowed to ban same-sex marriage?
I believe that the decision of defining marriage should be left up to the states, yeah.
We had another big cultural moment. President Obama said Caitlyn Jenner coming out like that was an act of courage. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think it's a personal decision. And to me, I don't know that there's anything more to comment on. It's just a personal decision.
Walker looks, sounds, and acts like a presidential candidate, but he still hasn't made it official. Okay, when are we going to hear your decision?
Well, the budget will be done hopefully by the end of June. Shortly thereafter, we'll announce our intentions.
Okay, Governor Walker, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good to see you.
See you.